In my previous life, my sister and I cultivated for 1,000 years, just to take human form. Grandmother sent 2 men for my sister and me. By consuming their hearts, both of us could finally transform into humans. One was a scholar, the other a Taoist priest. The scholar seemed harmless, but with sweet words, he deceived my sister into willingly abandoning her 1,000 years of cultivation, all for the promise of a lifetime together with him. On the wedding night, the foolish scholar plunged a knife into my sister's abdomen, brutally extracting her 1,000-year demon core, nearly causing her soul to scatter. In contrast, the Taoist priest, who appeared cold and ruthless, turned out to be a kind and compassionate man. I was enlightened by him. With his help, I not only successfully took human form but also ascended to immortality. When my sister learned of this, she was driven mad with jealousy. With her lingering resentment, she cursed me, destroying my physical body and shattering my soul. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day of my transformation. Once more, Grandma threw the severely injured and unconscious scholar and Taoist priest before me and my sister. My sister rushed to pick up the Taoist priest and ran off with him. I flicked my serpent tail behind me and smiled without speaking. Sister, do you really think stealing the Taoist priest will make you an immortal? My sister and I are snake spirits who have cultivated for 1,000 years. After the trials of time and the ages, we have finally transformed into human forms with serpent tails. Now, all we lack are the hearts of 2 men to completely assume human shapes. If we can consume hearts willingly offered by men, we may even have the chance to ascend as immortals and seek the heavenly principles. My sister and I are pondering how to obtain the hearts of 2 men. Granny Darkmount immediately tossed 2 men into the cave for my sister and me to choose from. Both men were covered in wounds and unconscious. One carried a long sword at his waist, adorned with various talismans, exuding a cold and arrogant demeanor, clearly a demon-hunting Taoist priest. The other was dressed like a scholar, with a face as fair as jade and a gentle, refined appearance, truly mouth-watering. My sister promptly scooped up the priest, then turned to Granny with a pitiful look, murmuring, "Little sister, priests are troublesome, let me handle him, the scholar is all yours." Grandma looked worried. "Bella, are you sure? He's a demon-hunting Taoist priest." Sister pretended to hesitate before replying, "I can handle it. After all, I'm the older sister and care deeply for my younger sister. That scholar is pure and nourishing. Let's save him for you." Noticing Grandma's expression and sister's performance, I quickly said, "In that case, Bonnie thanks you very much, sister." Sister replied with feigned sweetness, "No need to thank me. I'm your elder sister after all. If you win the scholar's true heart, it won't waste my good intentions. I'll just have to reluctantly settle for eating the priest instead." I smiled, rolled up the book, and walked away without giving my sister another chance to perform. My sister watched my retreating figure, a glimmer of determination flashing in her eyes, as if achieving immortality was already within her grasp. Becoming an immortal is the dream of many spirits. Immortal spirits can break free from the shackles of their physical forms, ascend to the heavenly realm, and enjoy supreme glory and honor. My sister would never pass up this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and neither would I. In my previous life, while I was away, my sister stole the scholar from me. The scholar was pure-hearted and a bit of a fool. Deceiving him was as easy as taking candy from a baby. His genuine affection would be incredibly nourishing. So, my sister immediately asked Grandma for medicine to temporarily conceal her tail. On a rainy day at the broken bridge, my sister let the rain soak her clothes as she paced in place, seemingly waiting for someone. After a long while, seeing a scholar approaching, she immediately transformed into a gentle and understanding flower, her delicate figure running lightly before bumping into the scholar's arms. "Oh, I'm so sorry. I was too focused on avoiding the heavy rain and didn't watch where I was going. Are you all right?" With a mix of charm and feigned distress on her face, my sister spoke to the scholar in a voice as soothing as a gentle breeze. The scholar was startled by the sudden collision but quickly regained his composure. The bookworm, who had always been immersed in scholarly pursuits, saw how fragile his sister appeared, drenched in the heavy rain, and was moved by compassion. "It's all right. I see you're alone. How come you're not carrying an umbrella in such heavy rain? Here, take mine," he said, pretending to be surprised and slightly embarrassed. The sister replied, "How could I possibly do that? What about you?" "This won't do. I already feel terrible for bumping into you. I can't take your umbrella." Yet her eyes were filled with anticipation. Seeing her insistence, the scholar suggested, "Since you say so, miss, why don't we share the umbrella? Where do you live? Let me walk you home." The sister, not daring to decline the offer, accompanied the scholar to her small cottage outside the city. The rain showed no sign of letting up. Instead, it poured even harder, much to the sister's delight. Secretly pleased, she wished to keep the scholar longer. Seeing the torrential downpour, the scholar no longer resisted her invitation. The sister prepared a bowl of steaming hot noodles for the scholar, sitting at the simple little table. They ate the noodles and chatted freely. Amidst the sound of the rain, both found themselves deeply moved. As time passed, the elder sister genuinely fell for the scholar. At first, she merely avoided their grandmother's watchful eyes. Over time, her affection for the scholar grew deeper, until she secretly transferred her centuries of cultivation to him. For though the scholar lacked a solid foundation in his studies, he harbored nothing but dreams of becoming the top scholar. The sister, who had truly fallen in love, even decided to abandon her demon form and marry the scholar, all to use her cultivation to help the scholar defy fate and assist him in the imperial examinations. On their wedding night, the sister, dressed in magnificent bridal attire, embraced the scholar tightly, her face filled with happiness, believing she had found the true love of her life. Suddenly, the scholar's expression changed, as if he had become a different person. He held a sharp dagger and stabbed it into the sister's abdomen, ruthlessly gouging out the demon core she had cultivated for 1,000 years. The scholar crushed his sister's demon core, and in an instant, all her 1,000 years of cultivation vanished. Her body collapsed to the ground, her soul nearly scattering into nothingness. In the end, consumed by despair and agony, she barely managed to fly back to Dark Mount with the last remnants of her soul. It turned out the scholar had known all along that his sister was a snake demon. Everything had been meticulously planned by his own hand. Meanwhile, my experience was vastly different from my sister's tragic fate. She stole the scholar, so I had no choice but to choose the Taoist priest. I had intended to devour the troublesome Taoist's heart directly, but unexpectedly, the Taoist had a protective treasure. Not only did he not die, but he also miraculously woke up, effortlessly breaking free from Granny's restraints. He saw through my true identity, yet he didn't kill me. Instead, he sought to redeem me. He warned me, killing would condemn me to remain a snake spirit forever, but helping others could grant me a chance to become an immortal. At first, I didn't believe it, but the Taoist priest supervised me daily to perform one good deed, and under pressure, I followed his words. After the 100th good deed, my snake tail miraculously transformed into human legs. At this moment, my heart was filled with indescribable joy. In my excitement, I let my guard down and told my sister about it, but at that time, my sister was deeply in love with the scholar, having long forgotten our grandmother's words, and she dismissed my advice with contempt. Doing good deeds for mortals, I barely have enough time to spend with George every night, unlike you with all your idle leisure. Mortals' lives are as insignificant as flies. Whether they live or die is none of my concern. Why should I waste my cultivation on them? The more good deeds I did, the more my reputation grew. Later, a drought struck the mortal world, and in order to bring rain to the people, I exhausted my 1,000 years of cultivation. Reverting to my original form, I thought the Taoist had deceived me, and I was ready to dig out his heart directly. Yet the common people erected a monument and built a temple in my honor, singing praises of my deeds, all to express their gratitude for saving their lives. My daily acts of kindness were witnessed by the Taoist, and the people's actions moved him as well. The Taoist then used his own cultivation to enlighten my spirit. I transformed from a snake into a flood dragon, soared into the sky, and became a minor mountain deity protecting the land. My sister witnessed all this, and compared to her own tragic fate, she was driven mad with jealousy. The bitterness she tasted in love stripped her of reason, making her completely forget that I was her sister who had relied on her for 1,000 years. She used the Dark Mount curse, channeling her resentment to place a hex on me, destroying my body and shattering my soul. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day of choosing a man, back to that fateful moment. Having learned from the bloody lesson of her past life, my sister didn't hesitate to choose the troublesome Taoist this time. Well then, I'll just have to take her beloved little scholar away from her. I brought the scholar to the small courtyard. When the scholar woke up and saw my thick serpent's tail, he was so frightened that he kept backing away. I could see his intention to flee, so I blocked his path with my serpent tail and snorted coldly, "Stop pretending." The scholar looked bewildered and asked in confusion, "What am I pretending?" I mercilessly exposed him. "George, you were born into a demon-hunting family. What kind of monster haven't you seen? Why act like some innocent scholar with me?" Seeing that I had uncovered his true identity, the scholar didn't get angry. Instead, he shed his look of terror and replaced it with an expression of cold indifference, sneering, "Humph, a mere serpent demon, since you know who I am. How dare you show yourself before me?" I paused for a moment, and in my mind, I recalled that in my previous life, the Taoist priest didn't kill me immediately after waking up but instead tried to save me. What about the scholar before me now? Would he also try to save me? What about my sister? What would happen to her? Would the Taoist priest help her just as he tried to save me in my previous life? Thinking of all this, I had no choice but to take a gamble. I answered his question. First, I've never killed anyone. Second, I'm a kind and good monster. Why should I be afraid of you? I'm making an affirmative statement. I'm gambling, betting that he won't kill me. Seeing him remain silent with a slightly softened expression, I continued, "You've been following your family around exterminating demons since childhood. All you know is fighting and killing, with pitifully low cultural knowledge. Yet you still dream of becoming the top scholar. It's sheer delusion, George." Stung by my words, flushed with anger and shouted, "You're just a little snake demon. What right do you have to criticize me?" With that, he raised his sword and charged at me. I nimbly dodged with my serpent tail as he swung his sword at me again. I quickly pleaded, "If I can teach you to read and help you pass the imperial exam to become the top scholar, will you spare my life and let me go?" George lowered his sword. Seeing him waver slightly, I continued, "Killing me is easy. But finding someone willing to help you become the top scholar for free isn't so simple." George had long wanted to break free from his family and dedicate himself to serving the people as an official. Indeed, I bet correctly, he didn't kill me, but on the condition that I help him pass the imperial examination as the top scholar. At first, he didn't believe me. Fortunately, the Taoist priest from my previous life had taught me, so I could show off in front of the scholar. Though he no longer had any intention of killing me, he remained skeptical of what I said. A hint of barely perceptible vigilance flickered in his eyes. I then wriggled over to the bookshelf and took out every single book from it. "If you don't believe me, you're welcome to flip through these books yourself." With a mix of skepticism and curiosity, he approached and examined each of my books one by one. To his utter surprise, every volume was densely annotated with my notes. He proceeded to quiz me with over a dozen questions, and I answered each one fluently without hesitation. The look in his eyes shifted from full of murderous intent to a hint of admiration. Thus, I became his teacher. George had spent over a decade slaying demons, so getting him to lay down his sword and become a Buddha on the spot was no easy feat. For him, studying was truly an immense challenge. But fortunately, I had a ruler, and every time he dozed off during my lecture, I would mercilessly strike him with it. Seeing that he still dozed off even after being struck by my ruler, I simply replaced the ruler with my thick serpent's tail. George got quite angry after being struck by me a few times. After all, my serpent's tail is thick and hard. It must have hurt a lot. When he's angry, he always wants to pick up his sword and finish me off. At this point, I would look at him with a provocative expression, as if saying, "Go ahead, kill me, see who'll teach you to read then." But every time the sword is pointed at me, he has no choice but to lower it. Because I am truly a man of profound learning and exceptional talent, he can only silently sheath his sword and explain sheepishly, "It's a reflex, just a reflex." He still humbly seeks my guidance on academic matters. Just as before, day and night, I supervised his studies, and as time passed, his literary foundation grew significantly. In truth, it was all due to the Taoist priest's meticulous teaching, but now he spends every day by his sister's side. Would he teach his sister with the same dedication he showed when teaching me? What will become of the elder sister under his care? Recently, a new medical clinic opened in H City, where a kind-hearted woman offers free treatment to everyone. The people of H City affectionately call her Fairy White. And whoever mentions Fairy White does so with nothing but praise. calling her a reincarnation of the Bodhisattva, full of blessings. The clinic also has a Taoist priest in residence, and many speculate that the two are a perfect match. The only strange thing was that this fairy white always treated patients while sitting. No one had ever seen her stand up. People speculated that fairy white might have leg ailments, and everyone was worried, sending her various medicines for leg treatment. All for this kind-hearted fairy white, but only I knew, she didn't have legs, she had a serpent's tail. That day, when I returned to Dark Mount, I saw my sister, who had been waiting for me for a long time. She put down the men's shirt she was mending, walked over, glanced at Grandma, and said to me in a sweet yet pointed tone, "My dear sister, what's gotten into you lately, spending every day with that scholar? Have you forgotten Grandma's words, dear sister? We're supposed to transform into human forms together, don't let yourself fall for him, I'm really worried about you." Hearing my sister's words, Grandma didn't hesitate. Before I could react, she lashed me with her whip. Grandma said angrily, "Bonnie, when I told you to seek true hearts, did I mean for you to fall in love?" Seeing my sister's smug expression and my grandmother's angry look, I had no choice but to swallow my pride for the moment. I explained to my grandmother, "Grandma, I was just waiting for that scholar to willingly offer his true heart. I've kept your teachings close to my heart. How could I forget?" Bonnie wouldn't dare. My sister started adding fuel to the fire again, and my grandmother lashed me with another whip stroke. Indignant, I protested angrily, "But my sister is also sewing clothes for the Taoist priest. Why isn't Grandma punishing her?" The elder sister said aggrievedly, "Little sister, you've misunderstood me. Mending clothes was just a pretense. The Taoist told me a method to become an immortal. Once I succeed, I can lend a hand to Grandma and you too, little sister. I'm actually helping you and Grandma. How could you think of me like that?" Seeing the elder sister's aggrieved expression, Grandma decisively gave her a century-old demon core. The elder sister was overjoyed. "Thank you, Grandma." After Grandma left, my sister swallowed the century-old demon core and said to me smugly, "You're really greedy, little sister. Instead of eating him directly, you actually wanted the scholar's true heart, but as your elder sister, I must advise you, just devour that scholar sooner rather than later, to avoid complications." I didn't respond to her. I smiled bitterly to myself. George is a hidden demon-slaying expert. If I tried to kill him, I'd probably end up dead instead. Thinking she had left me speechless, she continued gloating, "I've already won Francis's true heart. He promised to use his lifelong cultivation to elevate me to immortality. You must come and see it, little sister," I said cheerfully on the surface. "Sure, sister," but my heart was already a whirlwind of emotions. Was Francis really going to use his lifelong cultivation to elevate my sister to immortality? Had he truly fallen in love with her? Not long after, my sister's serpent tail transformed into human legs. It seemed Francis had indeed fallen in love with her. Her medical practice gained great fame, and her cultivation advanced significantly. On the contrary, I have nothing left. Everything that belonged to me in my past life has now become my sister's. My heart is filled with bitterness. I accompanied George to the provincial examination, only to run into my sister and the Taoist priest by chance. As expected, enemies see red when they meet. The moment my sister saw George, she was instantly consumed by the urge to kill. Francis noticed his sister's restlessness and immediately tapped her forehead, urging her to calm down. In the previous life, he would always tap my forehead to make me behave. Remembering this scene, my eyes couldn't help but well up with tears. Though Francis's eyes were filled with indifference, no one was softer-hearted than him. In the past life, he exhausted all his cultivation to help me ascend to immortality. In this life, will all of this belong to my sister? My thoughts drifted, when suddenly a wave of dizziness hit me, and my legs began to shed their skin as a massive serpent's tail struggled to emerge. The mortals nearby, witnessing this scene, all fled in panic, shouting, "There's a demon!" My sister grabbed Francis's sleeve and said urgently, "My sister's demon form is fully exposed. She must be about to go berserk. For the sake of the people in this city, I beg you, Taoist master, to take action and slay the demon yourself." Francis drew his sword and, without the slightest hesitation, swung it down toward my serpent's tail. I stared at him in disbelief, but miraculously, my tail transformed back into human legs. My sister watched as my serpent tail transformed back into human legs and roared at Francis, Francis, are you insane? Why didn't you kill her? She's a snake demon. And what about you? Francis sneered sarcastically, leaving my sister speechless. Francis turned to leave, and my sister hurried after him. Francis, stop following me. Go back and copy scriptures to calm your mind, the elder sister asked in confusion. Why? I haven't done my good deed for today. Why do I have to copy scriptures? Francis initially intended to ignore her, but upon hearing her words, he slapped her. He coldly retorted, why, you didn't do a good deed today. Instead, you committed a wicked act. Tell me why. The elder sister looked at Francis in disbelief, never expecting that Francis would actually hit her for my sake. Francis walked up to me and said, someone wants to harm you. As soon as these words were spoken, combined with Francis's previous actions and the venomous look in my sister's eyes, I understood everything. It was my sister. She wanted Francis to take me down. Francis hadn't changed. He was still the same Taoist priest who only eliminated evil spirits. I watched him walk away, my eyes involuntarily reddening. George witnessed the whole scene and said to me with a face full of dissatisfaction and anger, hey, little snake demon, what are you looking at? Weren't you supposed to see me off for the provincial exam? Stop looking and let's go. If we don't leave now, I might just capture you later. It truly added fuel to the fire of my already agitated mood. I shouted at him fearlessly, fine, if you're also an exorcist, then go ahead and capture me. I vented all my dissatisfaction onto him. Seeing me standing straight without the slightest intention to run, he scoffed and said, humph, who would want to take you in? I'm aiming for scholarly honors and don't have time to waste on you. With that, he turned and walked away. Strange human, just wait and see how I devour your sincerity. George got his wish and passed the provincial examination. His excitement was beyond words, and he insisted on dragging me to a tavern to celebrate. I didn't really want to go. I didn't want to see my sister with the Taoist priest. George seemed to notice my hesitation and suddenly startled me by asking, do you like that Taoist priest? What are you talking about? He's a Taoist priest, and I'm a snake demon. Who would like him? I immediately defended myself. Humph, as long as you understand, you're a snake demon, and he's a human. Humans and demons are fundamentally different. Besides, he's a Taoist priest. There's absolutely no possibility for you two, George said irritably. George started rambling non-stop, chattering endlessly in my ear until I couldn't take it anymore. I finally shouted, all right, stop talking, fine, I'll be with you, okay. He froze for a second, and then a visible blush spread across his face. Stammering, he said, you stupid snake demon, don't talk nonsense, you. Before he could finish, I lashed out with my serpent tail, cutting him off. You stinking scholar, who are you calling a stupid snake demon? When it comes to knowledge, I am your teacher. Don't you understand the importance of respecting one's teacher? The blush on George's face gradually faded as he angrily shouted at me, you stupid snake demon, I'll capture you sooner or later. I'll make sure you can never whip me with your serpent tail again. I'll cut it off and steep it in wine. Fine. If you dare to take me in, go ahead. See who'll help you pass the imperial exams then. Stupid scholar, always trying to scare me. I'm not afraid of you. With that, George brandished his peachwood sword and charged at me with a menacing air. Seeing him charge at me with the peachwood sword, I instinctively trembled in fear. I made a face at him, and his expression turned even more livid. After making the face, I slid away without looking back. Once outside, I immediately ran into my sister. It seems your relationship with that scholar is just so. When will my little sister ever taste true sincerity? The elder sister sneered. I didn't want to engage with her and turned to leave, but she caught up and blocked my path. Just then, George also caught up. Stupid snake demon, I've got you now. I ignored him. When he saw my sister, he gave her a disdainful glare. George is also someone who protects his own and hates evil with a passion. Last time, my sister caused me to reveal my true form in front of many people and even wanted Francis to take me in. If Francis had taken me in, who would have helped him achieve fame and become the top scholar? Naturally, George harbored deep malice toward my sister. My sister already had murderous intentions towards George, and seeing him roll his eyes at her only infuriated her further. She said irritably, oh, my dear sister, in 3 days, I will have completed my virtuous deeds and ascended to immortality. You must come and see. Humph. It's all because in 3 days she's going to ascend to immortality and can't be tainted by any bloodshed or vent her anger on George, so she just takes it all out on me. 3 days. My thoughts drifted back to my previous life. I was forced to be a good monster, but my wild nature is hard to tame, so naturally, I refused to listen to Francis, no matter how unreasonable I acted. He never got angry or blamed me, even when I sank my fangs into his arm, whipped him with my serpent tail, or strangled his neck. He still didn't get angry. He even said it was a form of cultivation. When I got tired from all the fuss, he still showed no reaction. So I gave in. He started bringing books again, teaching me to read and write. I pretended to sleep one moment and asked to go out the next. But he saw through all my tricks at a glance. Then he began his lecturing again. A snake's tail turning into human legs is just the start. The most important thing in taking human form is sincerity. You must possess a human heart. I know all about human hearts, Taoist priest. Since you're so kind, could you let me take a bite of your sincere heart? Francis shook his head. If you had your own heart, you wouldn't want to eat others' hearts anymore. I don't believe it. This little priest clearly just doesn't want to share with me, later, to bring rain for mortals. I exhausted my 1,000 years of cultivation and reverted to my original form. Francis thought I was dead, held me in his arms, and shed a tear for me. This tear transformed into my true heart, and the people erected a monument and built a temple for me, giving me another chance to become immortal. The dragon god descended 3 heavenly thunderbolts. If I could withstand them, I would attain immortality and enlightenment. But I had already lost all my cultivation. A single thunderbolt would scatter my soul to the winds. Francis took the blow for me, but he was just a mortal. Even if he endured it, he would still die. As he lay dying, Francis dug out his own heart and handed it to me. Eat it, Bonnie. Didn't you always want to taste my heart? Tears streamed down my face as I stared at that beating heart. I didn't want to eat it. I just wanted him to live. Francis died in my arms, and in that moment, I ascended to immortality, taking human form, just as Francis had said. With a heart of my own, I no longer desired to eat hearts. Holding Francis's heart in my hands, tears streamed down my face. But before I could bury Francis, the dragon god summoned me to the heavens. The dragon god transformed me into a flood dragon and appointed me as the mountain god. When I wanted to bury Francis, I was cursed by my sister, fell victim to her dark mount secret technique, and lost my life, causing Francis's true heart to be left behind in the mortal world. That was my greatest regret in my past life. In this life, I will never allow the tragedy to happen again. Francis should walk the path that rightfully belongs to him. As promised, the 3rd day arrived, with each city bathed in colorful clouds and the harmonious chorus of birds and beasts. Opinions varied among the crowd. Fairy White was a celestial being, destined to return to the heavens. A golden light shone into the sisters' clinic, accompanied by the voice of the dragon god. Bella, in recognition of your healing and saving lives, you are granted the privilege to ascend to the upper realm. Are you willing? The sister knelt on the ground, kowtowing excitedly while saying, "Thank you for your great kindness, dragon god." The sister couldn't wait to stand up and step onto the rainbow bridge. Suddenly, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled across the sky. Grandmother's voice pierced through the swirling clouds, and in the next second, she appeared beside the sister. "Bella, why didn't you tell grandmother you were ascending to immortality?" I pretended to defend my sister, saying, "Grandmother, don't blame her. She probably just wanted to ascend to immortality too much." My sister tried to sneak onto the rainbow bridge, but Grandma swiftly stopped her. My sister screamed frantically, "Dragon God, save me, don't be in such a hurry to leave." "Sister, Grandma still has something to say to you. How can you only think about becoming an immortal yourself?" I mimicked my sister's usual sweet but insincere tone. Grandma glanced at Bella, snorted coldly, then turned to praise me. "Bonnie, thanks to you for telling me, or else Bella would have really ascended to immortality and run away." "What are you saying, Grandma? Both my sister and I were raised by you, so our cultivation and spiritual power naturally belong to you." Grandma nodded in satisfaction. "Our Bonnie is so sensible, Bella. I originally prepared men's hearts for you to eat and transform into human form. I never expected you to find another way to become immortal. Since that's the case, give me all your cultivation as a token of your filial piety to me." the dragon god naturally wouldn't interfere. She hadn't yet stepped onto the rainbow bridge, let alone crossed it, so she was still immortal. The dragon god had no time to concern himself with trivial mortal affairs. Seeing that the dragon god made no move, the sister watched as her spiritual power drained away, crying out desperately, "Francis, Francis, save me, save me. Grandma has been continuously absorbing her spiritual energy. Grandma has been using us all along, waiting until we consume the man's true heart before sucking away all of our spiritual energy. In my previous life, it was the same for me." The disappearance of spiritual energy caused my sister to revert to her original form, and her thick snake tail frightened the townspeople, causing everyone to flee the clinic. At the critical moment, Francis appeared. I clearly had him trapped with magic, yet for his sister's sake, he still broke free from my restraints. I couldn't help but frown, feeling a pang of bitterness in my heart. Francis hurled a talisman at Grandma, after dodging aside. Grandma saw Francis utterly shocked and scolded me loudly. "Bonnie, didn't you say the Taoist priest was long gone? Why is he here now?" I said leisurely. "Grandma, you're a demon, I'm a demon, naturally, you can't trust what demons say." Grandma's rage erupted as she charged at me, intent on killing me. Although I've cultivated for 1,000 years, against an old demon like Grandma, I was still no match. At the critical moment, Francis rushed over and took the hit for me. The two of them started fighting, and just as I was about to help Francis, George also appeared. George said triumphantly, "Little snake demon, didn't you always say I'm uneducated and only know how to fight? Today, I'll show you the martial arts passed down through dozens of generations of my family. Watch how I destroy this old monster." He was also part of my plan. In his previous life, he mercilessly stabbed my sister to death with a single strike, clearly a heartless person. If I devour his heart, I'll surely become cold-blooded and ruthless. I refuse to eat his heart. I'll make him join us instead. Together, we'll have a better chance to subdue Granny. After we defeated Granny, George sealed her into his gourd, planning to refine her into an elixir. Granny of Dark Mount, once an arrogant and formidable demon, still refused to accept defeat even after being captured. She cursed at me. "Bonnie, you little wretch, how dare you conspire with a Taoist to ambush me? Just you wait." Her voice was filled with hatred and fury, as if she might break free any second to kill me. Faced with Grandma's curses, my heart was filled with complex emotions. I once held her in high regard, but her actions forced me to stand against her. In response to her threats, I helplessly replied with a casual remark, "Just rest, old lady." I sealed the gourd, sending her on her final journey. The gourd still emitted faint curses from Grandma Dark Mount. My sister had already reverted to her original form, yet she struggled to swim toward the rainbow bridge, but she had long lost her spiritual power. Suddenly, she turned and charged at me like a madwoman, but Francis restrained her. "Francis, what are you doing? Let me go. I'm going to kill that little wretch. It's all her fault. She's the reason I couldn't ascend to immortality." My sister screamed hoarsely. I approached. "How did I prevent you from becoming immortal?" Seeing me approach, my sister opened her mouth, ready to bite me with her venomous fangs. I dodged. "Sister, now that you've lost all your spiritual power, becoming immortal is out of the question. Save your energy. What's the use of biting me anyway?" "Bonnie, I won't let you off. Even if I become a ghost, I won't let you off." My sister kept screaming. "All right, sister, since you're so eager to become a ghost, I'll send you on your way right now." I was about to finish her off, but Francis kept staring at me. It seemed that the moment I made a move, he would end me right then and there. He remains the same, only killing demons that take lives. I casually swung the blade in my hand, curious to see how Francis would react. If I were to truly kill Bella, would he kill me in return? The demon blade slipped from my grasp and landed by the rainbow bridge. The dragon god suddenly spoke. "The unresolved karma from your past life still holds power in this one, Bonnie. I see you still carry unfinished celestial destiny. I grant you special permission to ascend as an immortal. Will you step onto this rainbow bridge? I shall appoint you as the mountain god of Dark Mount, bestowing upon you the status of a high immortal." I was stunned. In my past life, I never had the chance to enjoy immortal existence before my elder sister killed me with her Dark Mount secret technique. Never did I expect this celestial connection from my previous life would follow me through reincarnation. Upon hearing the dragon god's words, my sister angrily lashed her serpent tail with crackling fury, as if rebelling against what she perceived as injustice toward her. Why, I've clearly done so many good deeds. I ran a clinic to heal people for free, so how did she still get to become an immortal? Bella roared in anger. No one paid any attention to Bella. Ascending to immortality, becoming the mountain god of Dark Mount, these were all things I had desperately longed for in my past life, but now, I'm no longer that snake demon who only craved human hearts. I've grown timid. This mortal world has someone I can't bear to leave. I gaze at the rainbow bridge, no longer possessing the courage I once had. I can't bring myself to step onto it. I want to stay in the mortal world. By Francis's side, I turned to look at Francis. Thinking he wouldn't understand my metaphor, after a moment of eye contact, he walks toward me, with tears in his eyes. Francis says, "Bonnie, even if you don't want me, I'm still willing to protect you as you ascend to immortality." I retorted, "No, that's not true, Francis. I never rejected you." I wiped the tears from his face, my heart aching with pain. Francis said plaintively, "That day, you didn't choose me like in the previous life. You let Bella take me away, didn't you?" I was shocked. It turned out not only had I been reborn, but Francis had been reborn too. Did Francis misunderstand me and hold a grudge against me, which is why he helped my sister become immortal? Could it be that he still has feelings for me? I opened my mouth to explain, but I didn't know where to start. I didn't step onto the immortal bridge. I'm no longer the snake demon who only cared about devouring hearts. I can't bear to part with Francis, seeing my silence. Francis pushed me toward the rainbow bridge. "Bonnie, you and I are of different worlds. You a fairy, me a human. Your ascension is an unchangeable fact, and a union between human and immortal is impossible. In the end, we can never be together. There is no future for us." He pushed me to the edge of the rainbow bridge. With just one step, I could set foot on it, but I couldn't bring myself to leave. I can't bear to part with Francis. I can't bear to leave this mortal world. There are far too many beautiful memories here. At first, I only wanted a sincere heart to help me take human form. I never intended to become immortal, but later, with Francis's help, I grew greedy for the feeling of ascending to immortality. But this life is different now. I have a heart of my own. I no longer crave to consume hearts, nor do I wish to become immortal. Seeing me hesitate, Francis tried to push me onto the bridge. Suddenly, George stopped Francis with his peachwood sword and said, "Let Bonnie go. She doesn't want to leave. Your peachwood sword can only slay demons, not people. What's the use of pointing it at me?" Francis retorted. George didn't know what to say, his expression bitter. George looked at me. "Bonnie, don't go. I'll give you my true heart to eat. Just don't leave." I was at a loss, as George shed 2 lines of tears and stammered, I willingly offer you my heart." The colors of the rainbow bridge grew increasingly faint, while the dragon god's side became darker and darker. Seeing that the rainbow bridge was about to disappear, Francis anxiously said, "Bonnie, hurry onto the bridge. You've cultivated for 1,000 years and been reborn to have this chance to become immortal again. This might be the last and only opportunity." Francis noticed I made no move to step onto the bridge. Suddenly, Francis pushed me onto the rainbow bridge. 3 bolts of heavenly lightning struck as promised, but this time my 1,000 years of cultivation allowed me to withstand them. Golden light flickered among the clouds in the sky. After a long while, the white clouds dispersed, and heavy rain began to fall. Suddenly, a dazzling, multicolored rainbow appeared in the air. As for the snake demon Bonnie in the mortal world, she had long since vanished without a trace. Time flies like a fleeting shadow, in the blink of an eye. The long-awaited day arrived. George stood among the crowd, his heart filled with both nervousness and anticipation. Amid the dense list of names, he finally spotted his own, just as he had hoped. Now, he no longer thought of demon slaying, dedicating himself entirely to serving the people as an official. Even the peachwood sword was buried deep in the earth by him. George, dressed in red, walked down the neon-lit street, amidst the laughter and merriment. His thoughts drifted to that emerald-green figure, now ascended to immortality. Perhaps the tale was long gone. Now that I'm no longer in the mortal realm, no one whips him with a serpent's tail anymore. In a daze, he saw a familiar figure weaving through the crowd. He chased after them. It was a Taoist priest clad in plain robes with a long sword at his waist. Francis was still vanquishing demons for the mortal world. Still toiling tirelessly to rid the mortal realm of those malevolent spirits that plagued the land. That day after I stepped onto the Rainbow Bridge, Francis ventured alone to Dark Mount. Dark Mount is a perilous land shrouded in demonic energy, where the mountain's ruler, the Dark Mount Crone, commands a horde of lesser demons. Francis engaged them in fierce combat, eliminating the Dark Mount Crone's underlings. He was always so tender-hearted, meticulously considering every detail. I'm a lazy person who dislikes trouble, and he's always willing to handle these trivial matters for me in advance. During his 3 years at Dark Mount, Francis not only vanquished demons but also performed countless other good deeds. In the first year, he pitched a tent. In the second year, he built a shelter on the tent's foundation, and in the third year, he took in many abandoned infants, raising them, teaching them Taoist practices, and providing them with a warm home. As time passed, Francis's reputation for demon slaying grew, attracting many aspiring individuals who came to learn from him as disciples. He took on a few disciples, passing on his skills to them in the hope that they would one day become the brave guardians of this world. Later, he built Dark Mount and named it Bonnie Residence. The disciples looked at Francis in confusion, and one of them asked, "Master, this name doesn't sound very imposing. How can it intimidate the demons?" Francis smiled but said nothing, thinking to herself, if the fairy Bonnie were to pass by, perhaps she would remember her name and come back for a visit. Dark Mount, once a desolate land teeming with minor demons, transformed into a picturesque haven for cultivation after the demon-slaying sect Bonnie Residence took root and settled here. The mountains are filled with the songs of birds and the fragrance of flowers. Brimming with spiritual energy, the air is now entirely different. Exuding a fresh and ethereal aura, the disciples of Dark Mount cultivate here, infusing the place with vibrant vitality. Time flies like a shuttle, and the years slip away. Days gradually pass, year after year. In the blink of an eye, Francis, the founder of Bonnie Residence, has entered his twilight years. His voice has grown aged, yet remains deep and powerful. The face was already etched with the marks of time, yet the light in the eyes still shone with unwavering determination. Lying on the bed, all the disciples knelt on the floor, silently shedding tears, their hearts filled with reluctance, for the disciples held deep admiration and affection for Elder Francis, knowing that without him, there would be no Bonnie Residence today, nor would there be the people they had become. Francis, trembling, spoke, "You, all of you, leave. I must wait for someone." The disciples dared not disobey Francis and all withdrew. The sun rises in the east and sets in the west, while the moon takes over its shift. Day after day, month after month, Francis still hadn't waited for that person and refused to breathe his last breath. Francis went without food or drink. Just when he was truly on the verge of collapse, a gentle breeze pushed open the window, drifting into the room, and in the next moment, a figure appeared inside. The figure was dressed in simple light green robes, and Francis recognized who it was at a glance: Bonnie, still in the form of a young girl, only even more beautiful now. While Francis had long since turned gray with age, Bonnie spoke up, "Old man, you must be the master of Bonnie Residence. It seems we share some fate. My name is Bonnie too. Considering your merits in vanquishing demons, this immortal can grant you one wish." Francis stared at Bonnie in a daze, not daring to close his eyes, afraid she might vanish the next second. Francis said, "I have an aged but unchanging sincere heart. Would the immortal be willing to eat it?" Bonnie frowned. "I'm a celestial being. I don't eat hearts." Francis thought to himself, it seems she has already forgotten the memories of the mortal world. Perhaps it's better not to remember. Those worldly troubles might be nothing more than fleeting clouds to an immortal. As Bonnie finished speaking, her tongue instinctively flicked over her fangs. Bonnie subconsciously covered her mouth, thinking, oh no, my serpent nature almost showed. But this old man's eyesight is probably too dim to have noticed. She tried to conceal her true identity, but deep down, she felt an inexplicable sense of closeness toward Francis. Francis looked at her, staring intently with a dazed expression, then smiled without saying a word. After a long while, Bonnie approached, checked his breath, and confirmed that Francis had passed away peacefully. A tear rolled down Francis's cheek, and Bonnie, as if compelled by some unseen force, reached out to touch it, tasting its bitterness and astringency. Tears streamed down Bonnie's face as all her memories, sealed away by the dragon god, flooded back into her mind. She recalled her first meeting with Francis, the trials and tribulations they had endured together, and the deep affection Francis had shown her. In the ancient Taoist temple, the young monk Francis was practicing his swordplay with utmost concentration. The temple grounds were filled with towering trees, the songs of birds, and the fragrance of flowers. Only the occasional whistling sound of the little Taoist practicing his swordplay, slicing through the air, tranquil and peaceful, until suddenly a fruit flew in through the window. It struck Francis squarely on the shoulder, neither too high nor too low. The little Taoist picked up the fallen fruit, and the sight of two sharp tooth marks on it brought a warm smile to his face. He looked out the window as Bonnie waved at him. "Francis, come out and play, your master is taking a nap and isn't here." Francis didn't respond, but his body involuntarily moved toward the window. Bonnie noticed his troubled expression. What are you thinking about? You look so serious." Francis raised his head to meet her gaze, his eyes profound, and answered honestly, "I was thinking about what I should do if one day you turned into a demon, whether I should eliminate you or not." Ever since Francis became aware, Bonnie had always been by his side, claiming to be his guardian spirit, yet for over a decade, her voice and appearance remained completely unchanged, unwavering. This filled Francis with curiosity. Bonnie burst into laughter upon hearing this. "I'm no monster, I'm a mountain deity. All I want is to protect you, and here you are trying to eliminate me. All the monster hunting sects are named after me. How could I possibly be a monster myself?" Bonnie spoke with evident pride, as if emphasizing her identity and status. Francis gazed at the plaque. He had once asked the sect leader about it, but the leader could never give a clear answer. After all, the name had been given by the first-generation sect leader, and several centuries had passed since then. After a moment of thought, Francis said, "As long as you're not a demon, that's fine." Bonnie grinned playfully and deliberately asked him, "If I were a demon, what would you do to me?" Bonnie looked at him, seemingly eager for Francis's answer. Francis stared at her and said, "Then I would lay down my sword and become an ordinary man." Francis's voice was firm and resolute, as if he truly meant it. If Bonnie were truly a demon, he would willingly become an ordinary human, just to stay by her side and protect her. Bonnie teased him after hearing this. "Oh, but ordinary humans have no means of self-defense. Your heart could be dug out and eaten by a demon." Francis calmly replied, "If it's you, then there's nothing wrong with that." His eyes were filled with determination and trust in Bonnie. No matter what identity Bonnie holds, he would stand firmly by her side without hesitation. Bonnie paused, feeling a warm current in her heart. She seemed to know that Francis's words came from the bottom of his heart. "Don't overthink it, little Francis. I told you I'm a deity. We have a bond that spans lifetimes, and I'll always protect you." After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.